Okay folks, today we're going to play with some, you might have spotted the willow on the table. There's quite a nice length of it, and also we're going to play with some lovely sunflowers. So we're going to start off with a foam, and if you place that sort of nice and centrally in the container like that, and then just give it a little press down, and that, do that with flat hands so you don't compact the foam, but you wedge it into the container. Get a pair of secateurs, and what I'm going to do with this is just really easy. I'm just going to break that in half, and I'm going to use my secateurs just to cut the bottom, and then I'm going to place that in the foam. Now make sure that it's fairly straight. Now you might think normally I cut things at an angle, and why am I not doing that now? And that's because this willow is what they call semi-dry willow, and that's only when it's harvested earlier in the year. It's now classed as semi-dry, dry willow, because it is pretty dry, but it's still quite flexible. Yeah, and I'm just going to put that at a slightly different height. You can do more the other way. I'm not going to feed it through, but just to show you. So, yeah, I could do it like that. The only thing that we've got to be careful with is that we don't make it too fussy, because then afterwards the detail is too fine once we put the sunflowers in. Now, when you pull the leaves off the sunflower, it probably won't do it now that I'm showing you. Oh no, see? Quite often what happens is, oh no. I love it. I love showing people what to do, and then the flower doesn't work. What happens quite often is when you pull the leaf off, it takes a whole chunk, like a peel from the stem. So that's why it's sometimes useful to do with a knife. So we've got those in, then I'm going to twizzle it again. And at this point, I'm going to add my little fancier leaf, because you can see now that it's become, the design has become already a little bit flat. And just with this one little fancier leaf, what you end up doing is you create some depth. And again, you just break that line of the container there. I've got to make sure that this doesn't lean on the foam, i.e. that this material doesn't end up sitting on the foam. But it won't. It'll sort of hopefully drape a little bit over the sunflower to the lovely grasses. And these to me are the pièce de résistance, because these will hover. And you can see I'm going maximum height with these. I'm going to cut the other one a little bit lower, but practically using them at the maximum height that I can, because they don't really add, physically don't add to the height. They don't seem to, because they're so not flimsy is the wrong word, but they're so whooshy, and so, but the others, yeah, you can see, and that's, the weight is still created by the big flowers. This is just nice and fluffy, so it just adds a little bit of lightness to the whole design. The nice thing about these jasmine trails is that you can kind of use them at any angle. You can see that just sort of comes forward, and it's a very fine line, but it just again creates a little bit of different depth in there. So yeah, what I'd say overall is the kind of thing to watch out for with this is that it doesn't start to look like a letterbox arrangement. That you could just sort of open the flap and post it through. Try and get some depth in there. You can see how that works with the hanging amaranthus, the jasmine, and even using one of the, I'll just whizzle around, one of the sunflowers maybe a little bit towards the back, just to give some depth. Yeah. And you can see how the grasses work here beautifully, coming over the flowers, yeah, and whooshing out. Yeah, just to give it a nice little touch of lightness. So I'm just going to cut. Yeah, ideally, never ever tear moss apart, because all you'll do is you'll weaken the whole structure of the moss and it will just fall apart into little bits. So once you've completed this, you can obviously enjoy it. Make sure that you keep this well watered, and every couple of days the boat shape is perfect because you just sort of arch it over and allow all the old water out, give it some fresh cold water, yeah, and that will keep the flowers going for as long as possible. For the next workshop in 2 weeks' time, we're going to be making something rather special. We're going to use the small round bowl, and we're going to make like a cloche, like a flower cloche, in effect. You know, like a cheese cloche or a bakery cloche. But we're going to make it out of grass, out of steel grass. And then inside we're going to work with freesias. Freesias are not the easiest flowers to work with in general because they're very fussy. But for this kind of thing where we really show them off almost in a display case, and we're going to mix that with some other botanical gorgeousness. And so we're going to bring those freesias to really stand out and look their best. And of course, the lovely thing about freesias, which is why they're loved so much, is because they smell gorgeous. So we get the best of both worlds, something beautifully decorative and that smells gorgeous as well.